Oh, it's going to be a recurring theme in a lot of these vlogs where I'm not in 100% uh, shape, mobility wise at least. You know, you always have some stiffness here, some pain there, tightness here, but I think everybody does, so I shouldn't really complain about it. It's just worth noting that, these different feelings, different effects of training coming and going, more so for myself to reflect, and then I can change things depending on what feels good, what helps, what doesn't help. And my main focus right now with the mobility side of things is just to stay on top of the foam rolling and the stretching and the that side of things, just to balance out all the training. My anterior pelvic tilt, you can probably see it as I'm standing there with the bar. It just looks like my lower back's arched and my stomach's sticking out. That's just because of how stiff and tight my quads and hip flexors are and my lower back. So I really got to get on top of that, especially for the next workout. Today was double leg exercises, so it was basically, in terms of sets and reps, 4x6 for most of the exercises except for the Nordics, and it was double the weight of the single leg exercises that I did a few days ago. So a couple of days ago I did 35 kilos on the split squat and on the single leg RDL, and today was just simple, double that, 70 kilos, try and get the same reps out. And 70 kilos felt heavy, I gotta say. I think maybe just my CNS was a little bit fried. It's been a pretty intense week training wise. The running training was definitely harder this week than last week, and boxing as well. So, things have just been increased. Especially the past 3-4 days have been tough, and I'm just feeling the effects of that a little bit. So, as always, I've just got to stay on top of the mobility and the recovery stuff. So, yeah, it was a good workout for some reasons and average workout for other reasons. Average in that the squats felt heavy, and they really shouldn't. Like 120 kilos was what I was squatting less than 2 weeks ago, and I could get it up pretty well for 2 reps. Maybe the second rep I was arguably not that controlled, but 70 kilos felt heavier than I thought it would, and heavier than I remember it being. So yeah, probably just a bit fatigued. I think I shook my head after one of the sets in this video, but anyway, it was, basically filling in the gaps and getting in the volume and the reps at lower weights, like I explained in the previous video, and I'm just building that base back up to prepare myself so that I can hit the higher numbers later on. And this is definitely work that I think I'm doing at a good time, because I'm not playing football matches at the moment. There's a lot of variables that I have to take into account with balancing out the training schedule. And so that was the squats done, and I'm just warming up for RDLs with the 12 kilo kettlebell here. And the hip hinge was feeling good, but a couple times towards the end of a couple times I've felt this in the past, and towards the end of the third set here, I felt a little bit of pain in my back, and it wasn't like muscular pain, it was like actual back pain, like a disc or something. And I felt it before, and usually it's gone away just from me backing off the training load, or if I've just been not very mobile and, like today, a little bit stiff, that just flares up every now and then. So you'll see with the RDLs here, the Romanian deadlifts, I ended up putting on a weight belt for the 4th set, and that just kind of helps with the intra-abdominal pressure, and I can kind of push my stomach out, squeeze into that belt, and it just reinforces the spine a little bit better. And that felt much better for the 4th set. I didn't want to risk anything, and I think it's something that will go away if I stay on top of the mobility, and I just got to foam roll the the life out of my back and just soften up all that muscle, and hopefully it will feel better. So it's probably a sign that I shouldn't push too hard at this point yet. And if you remember from the third training vlog, I think it was the third, where I showed old training videos, I had a set of 8 RDLs with 122.5. So that's 52 kilos heavier than the weight I'm doing at the moment for 2 more reps. It's nearly double. And that just shows that, I mean, these RDLs felt fairly easy. They felt easier than the squats, to be honest. But it shows that in terms of my overall strength, I am a little, well, not a little, I'm a fair way off. But that's what we're here for. That's the whole point of this series. That's why I'm training. So I'm welcoming the challenge. And the other thing with the RDLs, with the Romanian deadlifts, it's going to become more obvious in the 3rd and 4th set. When I get tired and when I fatigue on this exercise, I naturally and subconsciously deviate away from that true hip hinge movement, and I start to incorporate more of a knee bend. So that's just me getting tired. Probably, maybe it's core strength weakening, like probably a bit of fatigue in the hamstrings as well. I think it's a little bit more pronounced here now in the 3rd set, but it's probably even more obvious in the 4th set, and I think I maybe rushed it a little bit, as I tend to do with most exercises when I'm struggling. I tend to rush it, and that's just probably my body saying it's not comfortable yet. So you can see me with the weight belt on now. I've got the straps on my hands, so I just avoid fatiguing the forearms too much. Like I said, I want to keep the stimulus all, lower body and core. So you're going to see a much worse form in terms of knee bend. Not that the form is bad, like I kept a relatively neutral spine for all of the sets, as I usually do with the RDLs, but now I'm leaning way more into a knee bend, and it's not as much of a pure hip hinge movement, so it's getting slightly closer to a regular deadlift. I think it's still acceptable for Romanian deadlift form, but not perfect by any means. So these were the reverse Nordics, and I think the difference of footwear actually was a big factor today. The shoes that I was wearing the last time I did these had a much stiffer heel, and so when you go into the Nordics, or the reverse Nordics rather, when you lean back, it pushes your ankle into plantar flexion, so your toes pointed down, and then the back of your Achilles tendon pushes against the back of the shoe. So if the shoe is softer, you have more room to push it, and you can sit more comfortably into the reverse Nordics. And with the rep range for the Nordics and reverse Nordics, usually I build the volume up over time, and then I will regress back to lower volume, but with a different variation or stimulus, or I'll explain. So today I did the first 2 sets were of 4 reps. The 3rd set was 3 reps. So that was a total of 11 reps. Usually I like to add 1 rep per session for these exercises, for the Nordics and reverse Nordics. You can see already with the Nordics, I've got a fair bit more control than, I can't remember if it was the session before this or 2 sessions ago, where I was just basically falling down. But so a total of 11 reps, 4, 4, and 3. So the next session will be 3 sets of 4 for 12 reps. And then I'll slowly but surely add 1 rep per session. That's why you have the different number of reps in some of the sets. And it's a very unconventional way to do things. I know that us being humans, we like to have things even and, 4 sets of 4 or 3 sets of 4, or every set being uniform for the same exercise, where you're not altering the amount of reps. Now, it's a bit strange to say the first 2 sets I'll do 4 reps, and then the 3rd set I'll do 3 reps. But I'm just looking at the long-term progression. I'm not in any rush to get all the way up to 5 sets of 5 or 4 sets of 4. It's going to take a while. 4 sets of 4 is 16 reps, and then 5 sets of 5 is 25 reps. And even between those two, it's a massive difference, if I've got my maths correct. And so I'm doing 4, 4, and 3, which is 11 reps. So I've still got a long way to go. But say I get to 4 sets of 4, maybe 4 sets of 5, 5 sets of 5. I haven't decided yet, but it'll also depend on how I feel. I'll then go back to 2 sets of 2, which is the starting point every time I do like a training cycle with Nordics and reverse Nordics. 2 sets of 2, and I'll either aim to do them much slower and keep that tension high, or I'll add some weight, or depending on how good I am at them, maybe a fall and a catch, which, you got to be really strong to do that. I haven't been that strong before with Nordics, so we'll see. I'd like to be able to do a fall and a catch with a Nordic, but that's going to be a fair while away. I'll just try and do a fully controlled eccentric first and touch my nose on the ground, but we'll see how long it takes. I think within a year I'll be able to get there. So for the groin today, instead of the Copenhagen's, I did some side lunges just to target the longer adductors and get into that side lunge position, which is really important, especially in football. I have, touch wood, actually injured my groin in this very position, the side lunge, and that was on a wet football pitch where the ground kind of gave way and my foot slid out to the side. And that was only a minor strain, but still, it's food for thought. I have to strengthen myself in those positions and strengthen the adductors for that kind of contraction. So the other thing with the side lunge is I'm going to slowly progress the volume and intensity, and then with the Nordics, I will regress it back and then probably have a further range of motion for the next cycle after that. So there's other ways to progress apart from sets, reps, and weight. You can progress in the time under tension. You can progress in the range of motion. And all of these are training stimuli that I want to incorporate at some stage into my program. And I finished the session with some ab wheel rollouts, and I was pretty much gassed at this point. I was very tired. In terms of nervous system tired, breathing tired, muscular system tired, everything. But I had to push through it, as you do. You have to push through towards the end if you are still, relatively okay without feeling any pain or anything like that. And yeah, I was just incorporating some stretching between the sets. I'll be foam rolling tonight to fix the problem that I was having with the anterior pelvic tilt. And I think at some stage in the next month and a half, I'll start to incorporate hip thrusts. Whether or not I do them at home or at the public gym remains to be seen. I have to have another look at the public gym, which I did sign up at. I have to have another look to see if they have a dedicated hip thrust station. I hope they do, but if not, it's not an issue. I can do them at home. And I might even do those single leg as well, just to make sure that I'm getting full hip extension on both sides. I have some side-to-side differences in terms of mobility as well as strength, which is frustrating, but, we're human. We all have, asymmetrical capabilities. We're all one side dominant, and that's something that's always existed, as since the beginning of time. So it's just always something to work on. But all in all, it was a pretty decent session, and it gives me something to build on. So I think next week I'm going to only increase the weight slightly. The volume will come down by 1 rep for the main exercises, which is the split squat and the RDL. It'll be a single leg RDL for the next session. The Nordics will go up again, and the adductor work will probably remain similar. But if I might stick with the side lunges, to be honest, up the weight again, but only slightly, and just try and maximize that range of motion and that stretch in the adductors. But all in all, I think another thing I need to work on is allocating more time towards sleep. so that I can feel less tired and 70 kilos won't feel as heavy next time. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for watching if you've made it this far, and I'll catch you in the next one.